it was plainly evident if not spoken out loud. In fact, that's the point, that aspects of our sociolinguistics, in our subcultures, internet cultures and our debates were underpinning each other. The shift was exchanging some of the most rudimentary but then as a subculture more complex and identifying qualities. Without dancing around the bush, the most basic of symbolic exchange as well. This is a personally dimensional aspect of our lives at the same time. It wasn't until the summer of 2016 that I had realized that the trend in engagement had crossed the Canadian-American border so intimately. After further inquiry, the most mind-boggling scenario had come to be realized: it had crossed international waters. Basically every region with enough of a culture emerging from the most diversely engaged, internet culture and psychologically inward and attentive enough. Tokyo, Seoul, London. Australia's configuration of its argumentativeness stood distinct although not its only quality. Although I don't recall anywhere being as intimate as North America for the issue, there was evidence of similar notional engagement as well as acknowledgements of a consciousness, for lack of a better way of saying it. Sentiments were reciprocated, onlookers were wondering, cultures were connected somewhat, and at a time as violent as it was, something about a subjective acknowledgement perhaps resounded more in that it was able. But not everywhere obviously. Things were stranger, it was actually a popular subject, the world was definitely larger. What's notoriously implicating here is that a previously isolated sociology gave dialogue to itself in the urgency of the time. One recognizes and interprets its abruptness. Assumption in our own reality relative to others were at question. Diversifying our domains being a localizing and inconsistently recognizing issue, we perhaps knew something was trying to say something. We were active in subject matter. Progressively that diversifying gave contrast to all parts of life, I think. Public statement and culture being consequently allowed rather expulsive but almost formal senses, I think. Humanism was affirmation amidst a growing consciousness in the outside world and in what was a seemingly implied recognition. However, it was also the confusion of angers and turbulence either politically or psychosocially that accompanied this time. A more public sentiment towards what a people and a culture were perhaps subjectively and engagingly resounding with, gave life, as we are here, a sense of urgency, and respect. A distinction that was trying to be understood on its own in the world, yet heard. Our distancing from our usual measures of reality in a time where the tribulations that the administrations of the time begged a question of the resolve towards life. Self-destruction and, for lack of a better way of putting it, unitary entity, at least as a voice felt, had as much to say to futures and foresights. It was very biospherically concerned. And I shared in that insight and advocacy, intimately. This was the age of the TED Talk. Edinburgh was popular, but the stranger, more local things about us were rather inquiring and at forum.